lot more than just part-time. And this is where John Latham gives a completely, I think, in my opinion, a bullshit version. He says that because Paige couldn't get a job there, she said to him, apparently, if he didn't give her a job there, she was going to tell people that he had inappropriately touched her, which everybody that knows Paige denies this. They all say that Paige was not that kind of person. She wasn't malicious. She wasn't looking to ruin somebody's reputation. She already had a part time job. Like, Paige was a girly girl. She loved her, she loved makeup. Like, the salon was a perfect job for Paige and the type of young lady that she was growing into and for her interests. It made absolutely no sense for Paige to enter into working with food in a little deli shop. It just, it wasn't what Paige was interested in doing. And it wasn't believable anyway. And nobody believed this. This was not accepted in court. No evidence was produced of this. So, well, I feel like I'm inclined to believe that John Latham was just making up that story completely. Apparently, from what I found out, shout out to James English, by the way. I'll link his channel down below. He makes some awesome content. James English did an interview with Pamela, who is Paige's mum, and they believe that initially John Latham was going to go guilty by reason of insanity. So what the court did was they brought in some of the best psychiatrists, some of the best psychologists, and other people like that to examine John Latham, and it was determined there was absolutely nothing wrong with this man. Nothing at all wrong with this man. He had no mental illnesses. He had no trauma. He had no criminal record. There was no justified reason that he did this. So, during the day of Saturday, the 19th of March 2016, after horrifically, animalistically, brutally, ragefully attacking and stabbing this poor, defenseless, petite young girl, John Latham left Paige's body in his car in the duffel bags. So, the duffel bags you see him carrying on that CCTV footage had the body of Paige inside of it. And he'd carried this body in broad daylight. Obviously, not the body out exposed to people, but in the duffel bag. And there was apparently her foot was sticking out of the duffel bag. And she was just left there in the car for the rest of the day. Whilst John Latham carried on serving customers like it was a normal everyday. Like, how bizarre is that? How can you go from murdering somebody in such a brutal way to going straight back to serving customers like it's nothing? You're dehumanizing that person. It is also believed that after he finished for the day, he transported Paige's body to his garden shed, which again is just so eerie because he's got a wife, he's got a newborn baby. This shed would have been feet away from their home, and there's a dead 15-year-old girl there. And he later transported her body to said location where it was found in Clive Bank. Now, another eerie thing that I found out a little bit later on when I watched the James English interview with Pamela. Again, shout out to James English. I will link him down below. Um, Pamela said that she received a phone call one day from not John Latham, but another worker at the Delicious Deli. And basically, John Latham was speaking to the woman who was on the phone to Pamela, and the woman was passing on what he was saying. And John Latham actually wanted to have Pamela come over to his place so he could talk about her daughter Paige, which Pamela was like, I don't understand why you want me to come over to your house. I don't know you that well. I think it's one of two reasons. If we're speculating, I think he wanted her to come over for one of two reasons. One being, I think this is the most likely, he wanted her to come over so um, he could have a boost, he could indulge in the fact that she was grieving. You know, obviously, if you're a mother and you've just lost your child in such horrific circumstances, you're going to be a mess. And we do know that killers and people that commit these kinds of crimes get off on the fact that they see people hurting, they see people going through it. So I think that was the most likely reason. But another reason that was brung up in the interview with James English was Pamela thought that maybe he thought Pamela thought that maybe John Leatham thought she was onto him and potentially he wanted to lure her to his home so he could potentially kill Pamela too. Which he could have. I mean, by the look of it, we don't know exactly why John Leatham did what he did, but if you can stab somebody that many times, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later on, it was a lot more than what I mentioned, you guys. It was a whole lot more than what I mentioned. If you can do that to a child, what's to say you can't do it to another grown person? That kind of rage is just uncontrollable. I think Pamela was lucky because Pamela was like, I'm not going over to your house. I don't know who you are. There's no need for me to go over. And thank goodness she never did. So originally, John Leatham was sentenced to 30 years, which I think is disgusting. He should have at least, at the very least, got a whole life tariff because, come on, what I'm going to tell you later on, you guys will agree, he should have got a whole life tariff. And because he pleaded guilty, they knocked 3 years off. So he was originally meant to serve 30, he's now serving 27. And then this monster decides to appeal his sentence yet again from 27 years, and it gets reduced down from 27 years to 23 years. Disgusting, absolutely disgusting. That man should have got a whole life tariff without a question, without a doubt. He wasn't mentally ill, he had no reason to do that, there was no justifiable motive. This man should have got a whole life tariff, and that's how I feel. That's how a lot of people that know Paige feel. That's how Pamela feels. I completely agree. He should have got a whole life tariff. What the fuck were they thinking lowering that man's sentence? In 23 years' time, even shorter than that, because this happened in 2016, he's going to be out and he's going to be on the street again with vulnerable young girls and young people. He is a huge, huge, huge risk to young people. Absolutely a huge risk. An incredibly dangerous person to be around young people, and they let him successfully appeal his sentence. That's vile. A true motive, like I said, has never been determined. A lot of people think he was infatuated with Paige and he had an obsession and perhaps he tried something with her and she has obviously decided was disgusted by this and she's tried to get away and maybe that's when he's attacked her because she had defensive wounds on her arms too, which shows that at some point he's attacked her and she's tried to defend herself. Maybe it was just a moment of madness. Maybe he'd snapped. We don't know. We can only speculate because there's not a solid, justifiable reason as to why this was done. I'm sorry if I seem angry in this video. I'm just angry at the fact that not only did he get a 30-year sentence, they reduced it down to 23. Like, what the fuck is that about? This man is so dangerous and he's going to be out in the streets again in a couple of years around young people. He's such a serious, severe risk to young people, especially the petite, defenseless young people. Like, I'm baffled by what the fuck they were thinking. They should have given that man a whole life tariff and happily thrown away the key. That's what I would have done. Pamela, God bless her, she's even wrote to him and he's never responded. She's requested visits. He won't accept her. He is a coward. He will not face her, nor will he face any of her family, which just shows Pamela and her family that the man's a coward. The man is an absolute coward to do what he done to that child and to not have the balls to sit in front of her mother and said, this is why I did it, or this is what happened, just shows that he's got no balls. He is spineless and he is vermin. He is scum and he is lower than low. So, as I mentioned before, later on, a couple of years down the line, Pamela actually did an interview with the Anything Goes with James English YouTube channel. Again, I will link them down below. And I want to discuss a few points that she mentioned in that video too, because it was a really interesting interview. And Pamela revealed a lot of information that I hadn't found until I watched that interview. So, again, shout out to James English. In this interview, Pamela had revealed that the actual extent of Paige's injuries were not revealed in court because John Leatham had pled guilty, but it was believed that Paige was stabbed in the region of 500 times. 500 times. This small, petite, defenseless 15-year-old girl was brutally stabbed all up and down the left side of her neck, all the way up to the left side of her neck, her head. That poor child must have been absolutely terrified. And again, she stood absolutely no chance against a 31-year-old man. She did not stand the slightest chance. Disturbingly, Pamela had revealed that Paige's family have actually been the target of internet trolls, which I think is vile. As the family themselves, it's hard enough grieving for the loss of their child, the loss of their sister, the loss of their granddaughter. That must be hard enough. And then to have people online that are so small-minded and ignorant and pathetic that want to troll her about that. The murder of her daughter is absolutely fucking disgusting. And those people ought to be ashamed of themselves. They really do, because if that happened to you, you wouldn't want people trolling you. And the fact that you do that to other people is disgusting. Is absolutely disgusting. It's like, who the fuck raised you? Who in the fuck raised you to think that it's okay to troll people about their murdered daughter? Like, sort your fucking heads out. Also, what I want to point out in this video too is John Leatham's brother is actually currently incarcerated because he attacked his pregnant wife with a weapon. And I think that just says a lot about that family, that clearly they're a bunch of wrong'uns, because not only do we have John Leatham, the child killer, but we also have his brother who's attacking pregnant women with weapons. They just sound like a bunch of wrong'uns. So, ending on a more positive note, in Paige's memory, um, Pamela and her family have set up the Pout for Paige. You guys might remember that. It was the hashtag Pout for Paige. Everybody would pout, take a picture, hashtag it with hashtag Pout for Paige. There's the Pout for Paige Foundation. There is also Paige's Promise, which is to help people raise awareness and support families who have gone through loss and grief, set up activities to help people feel, more confident and get them out and enjoying life again, because there is life after a loss. As hard as it may seem, there is definitely life after a loss. Also, they teach self-defense classes, which I think is wonderful. I think we should do that a lot. I think we should do that in schools, if anything. We should teach our children how to defend themselves, how to escape from these kind of situations, how to let people know when something's wrong. Also, the pages promise provide necessary and important information to those who need it and to make people aware so that this kind of thing does not happen again. And that's what I want to leave off on. Oh, one other thing. Pamela has also had two more children, and Pamela still keeps Paige's memory alive. They still talk about Paige every day. She's still very much there, and my heart goes out to Pamela and her family. And that's where I want to leave today's video. So thank you guys so much for watching. This is Unveiling Evil, episode 1, The Case of Paige Doherty. And I have been your host, St. Michaels. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications bell. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. And I shall see you in the next episode. So until then, farewell, guys.